My name is Fraser.
My name is Mark.
And we are the hosts of the geekiest show alive. To the outside world, we're ordinary geeks.
But in the Fab International Studios, we talk comics and find other geeks just like us. This is Geek of the Week.
Guys, girls, geeks of all kind, for the past couple of weeks,
The past ever,
we've had a nice little joke about pull or pass, and I think that I have angered the higher powers of radio and podcasting beings, because I always joke that, do the pull or pass theme live, and due to technical difficulties this week, I'm genuinely going to have to do this live. I might add this to the YouTube as well. I mean, I do
add it to the YouTube.
But pass.
That was Bobbins.
Oh,
definitely keep that in.
It's the thought that counts.
Definitely keep that in.
That counts.
Even if no one else is amused, I am.
You're amused. You'll listen to it and click on it 1,000 times.
1.3k times, like the Joker video.
Pass.
Go on, let's talk about how pull or pass works.
So, this is Pull or Pass. This is a section of the show where we take a look at typically 3 comics.
Sometimes 4.
Sometimes more. Sometimes 4. Like this week. And we say
4.
whether we would pull or pass on them. And basically, to describe the pull element of the section of the show, when you go into your local comic book store and you pick up a comic, let's say you pick up a Shazam book, or you pick up a Chilling Adventures, you've seen them and you're like, I want to give them a go. It could be a 1, it could be a 2, it could be whatever. You put it, you pop it on the desk, you pay for it, and the clerk at the desk will ask you, hey, do you want to add this to your pull? And you say, yeah, sure. And basically, what that means is whenever a Shazam or Chilling Adventures of Sabrina book comes out, could be a 6, 7, 1 billion, they will keep it behind for you. Sort of like a mini subscription sort of thing, but less stressful, we need your money every week, you need to come here every week on a Wednesday, when new comic books are, to pick up your pull.
And some people do. They come and pick it all. Every Wednesday they come and pick up their pull. Some people, like me, they don't go in every week.
It's payday.
I tend to go on payday.
Or whenever you're strolling past. I've been on both ends of that spectrum, I'll be honest. There's been days where I've been like, oh, hello. I lived with someone who owned a comic book store, so I knew that it was in on Tuesday, and it'd be like, hey, do you want to give me and sometimes they do here's a midnight release for your Spider-Man books. And they just bring it back to the flat, and it was, it was nice. But yeah, so another cool thing you can do, which we found out the hard way, is you can, if you know something's coming out, you can ask a comic book retailer to add it to your pull. And sometimes that's really important, because there's a lot of books out and not every comic book owner will get every book in. So if they know you're interested in that, you want to add it to your pull, they'll bring it in. And also as well, if like a series isn't selling well, definitely put it on your pull, because they will pull that away as well. That has happened before. I didn't put something on my pull, so someone thought, a comic book store thought, no one's buying this, so then they get rid of it.
And then you don't get any in at all, and then devoed.
Or someone steals your copy, because, you usually come in every Wednesday, but on this turn you go on a Friday, and someone on Thursdays took your book, and you're like, why? Do they not know? If only there was something I could do. If only there was something like a subscription service which was less stressful.
We have done a very long description of pull or pass today.
Now let's talk about the books.
Yes.
The first book we're looking at is Major X by Marvel. Now this was out last week. 2 of the books this week were out last week. 2 of them were out this week. So we're sort of doing like a balance and stuff like that.
Because last week was just crazy with the number of new books, but this week is a bit crazy as well, so we're carrying stuff from this week onto next week too.
April basically is a hotbed, because it's sort of, a lot of it is setting up the stories for the summer. May in turn, there's not that many new issues and there's not that many part 1s, so May's going to be interesting. We've got something planned for that though, but we'll let you know about that in May.
By we, he means he has.
Yeah, of course. But yeah, so we looked at Major X by Marvel, and more importantly, by Rob Liefeld. Rob Liefeld's been known for creating some of the most of the iconic characters in the 90s. He was a big part of Image as well. But for Marvel, most of you will know Deadpool. He also worked on Cable. He's also notoriously known for not being able to draw feet.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, can't draw feet.
Can't draw feet?
No.
Can he draw boots?
He's a writer, and he loves to. He's all about the armour and all this, things. There's a joke around comic book readers and artists as well about the typical Rob Liefeld character. He's got guns and whatever. Stan Lee did a cool thing with him where he got Rob Liefeld. He got a load of comic book artists when they guest on his show to make up a character there and then.
Right.
He did one with Rob Liefeld and I know it said Seth MacFarlane, not Todd McFarlane. And Stan threw a bit of shade towards the two, it's kind of funny, and it's definitely worth checking out. It'll be it's on YouTube, and it's a nice little thing. But yeah, Major X, Rob Liefeld's new character. I think potentially he said it's going to be his last big hurrah, but who knows? What were your thoughts on the Major X book?
Well, new characters are always a problem, aren't they? What?
I mean, they can be.
A brand new character that isn't introduced through some other comic book, softly.
A natural story.
Yeah,
I get you. That was just a funny.
They are, and the front cover looked like something very cheesy out of the 90s. So I was on my guard.
Yeah,
I was definitely on my guard. And let's be honest, he looks like somebody went, "Ooh, I like Judge Dredd. I want my own Judge Dredd," and he looks awful. The character design and concept and outfit is bobbins. He is a terrible Judge Dredd. He's like if someone when Dennis the Menace was recreated in the mid-90s.
Oh, and he got the black hair instead of the.
And he had He had a shell suit and a new look, and it was universally panned, and they retracted it the very next issue. It looks like someone's done a modernisation of Judge Dredd. Dismal. And this comic book, from start to finish, it was just a shameless popular characters melee.
Yeah.
It was dismal.
What I'll say is, it was Rob Liefeld, to quote a modern millennial term that you might not know, it was Rob Liefeld flexing. He was basically going, "Oh, here's Cable, I made him. Here's Deadpool, I made him." And then he merged them all together. And then obviously there's the whole twist that Major X is Cable's son. And the whole thing of Major X is he's a time traveler, and he's sort of trying to work out why he's there.
Do you know what I thought when each of these characters came in? It felt like I was playing Street Fighter 2, and my mate kept doing "Here Comes a New Challenger." It was awful. It was like fighty fighty talk, fighty fighty talk, fighty fighty talk, fighty fighty talk. Rubbish twist at the end.
And it wasn't even the Deadpool people like as well. It was the series Deadpool, because Rob Liefeld made the series Deadpool, but the Deadpool most people know, the comedic person and stuff like that, was actually created by someone else. Like, someone else took a different interpretation, did the thing. And that's the Deadpool we know. And now I can't, for the life of me, and I feel really bad, I can't remember which Daniel Way maybe might have been the writer that introduced that, and introduced he's got 3 different voices in his head. But yeah, Rob Liefeld brought the main Deadpool, which, is a credit. Creating a character who becomes so iconic is a credit to him, but the Deadpool we know and like doesn't appear in this.
I am trying to think of a comic book in the last 26 episodes that we have put on Pull or Pass that I disliked more than this.
Is this the passiest pass? I forget what the pulliest pull was the other week. Was it Daredevil?
Daredevil was a heavy pull,
and this is the passiest pass.
The fact that Daredevil was released by Marvel this year, and it's a masterpiece, compared to this I'm not going to say it, but there's a word that describes fan service. That's what I'm going to go with. But there's another word I might use. It's shameful that Daredevil can be released and be so damn good compared to this drivel. Desperately disappointed. I wanted it to be good. Pass.
Pass. Yeah, it's going to be a pass for me. I kind of...
Pass and burn. See what I did there?
There's a How I Met Your Mother reference to chip in here, and if I'm very good with it, I might chip it in at this point, but I probably won't.
No.
And it's to do with the Majors.
Major X.
Yeah, Major X. And, well, yeah, Ted and Robin.
That is literally the only joy that we have got out of reading this comic book, is being able to reference How I Met Your Mother.
And, yeah, that would probably be my review for it as well.
Bobbins.
Yeah, the next book we're going to talk about, again, this is the second one that was released last week, is Section Zero by Image. What I really liked about this book was that we were in Australia. I got really buzzed. I've been meaning, I really want to go to Australia. I'm currently saving money up, and this is a bit of a tangent tornado. Following this page, it's a peanut butter bar. One of the things I love is, if you know about me, I love comics.
Do you?
Especially Spider-Man.
Do you?
Yeah. And I love me some peanut butter. Get a peanut butter in the comic and I'm sorted. But I'm following this peanut butter bar that is in Australia, and I really want to visit there, and I really just want to visit Australia. So seeing that was like, oh, this is pretty cool, and it's a pretty cool sort of land to be in. And I liked the beginning that said, protect you from the things that don't exist. It reminded me very much of like a Men in Black sort of, and a Hellboy kind of thing in a way, because he sort of does that in a way, and I liked that, but I liked that it was a cool science fiction thing, and so
you've gone for it reminds you of Men in Black.
Yeah,
I put down X-Files and Warehouse 13.
That's a nice touch. It's one of them where you can say the premise has been done before, but I thought it was done quite nicely.
It didn't have much of an original idea, but it was done pretty well. I agree. I would agree with that.
I like the setting. I think it's the setting of Australia as well, like, because it's not just Australia, like, oh, Sydney Opera House and stuff like that. It's sort of like, it's the, what's it called? It's the outback in it, so it's where all the animals are, and it's sort of like less popularised by humans and more by animals, and these animals are getting attacked. It's like, oh, what's happening here? And yeah, I sort of dug it in that way. Yeah, but what were your thoughts on the book anyway? That was my sort of like main sort of grabs at it.
It wasn't disappointing, but it wasn't exceptional.
Yeah.
I don't really know what I was expecting from it. This was one that I put on because I thought it looked cool.
Yeah.
But I can't even really put my finger on it. But it's not a pull.
Ooh.
Don't know. It was good, but it wasn't quite good enough.
That's fair. So for me, I reckon I'm going to put it on a pull. I've mentioned, like, obviously I mentioned my love for Australia. I'm going to mention as well that another tangent tornado. Been watching a lot of stuff on Netflix whilst obviously me comic book stuff. But whilst I've been waiting for the comic book stuff to drop and waiting for Sabrina to drop, there's been a lot of Australian telly programs on, and there's this one, it's called like Instant Hotel, where people like do the thing. So I'm very much in the very much feeling the Australian vibe. So I think that is part of the reason why it's a pull, but also I do like the sort of thing of we're protecting you from the people that...
What's that, the creature from the Black Lagoon? Was it the creature from the Black Lagoon? Are they allowed to use the creature from the Black Lagoon, or did it just look like the creature from the Black Lagoon?
It might be one of them where it's in the free reign, like certain...
out of copyright.
Yeah, certain people, like it's free use, but you can't use, like, obviously you can't...
If it is the creature from the Black Lagoon, I'm slightly more inclined to give it another chance.
Or if it's inspired by...
yeah, that's what I was thinking, is it?
It'd be interesting, yeah. You know what? I'll keep on reading and I'll let you know.
Yeah, let me know.
I'll be like, it is, and then you're like, oh, well, now it's turned to a pull.
Maybe.
Now, we're going to turn to the books that came out this week. We've got two more. We've got Faithless by Boom Studios. Now I got...
You got what? Wasn't it called Faithless?
Faithless. Oh, that's autocorrect, that. Faithless. You know what? That doesn't even make sense because the main character's called Faith. I don't know why. I shouldn't have trust my phone. I was like, I'm sure it was called something else. Yeah, we've got Faithless. I mean, we may have had whatever else I just said, but it wasn't by Boom Studios, and it wasn't a comic book that came out this week. Faithless came out this week, and this was one that I saw up, and I was like, I'm sure Mark mentioned this. And then I got it confused with a book we're talking about next week, which is Fair Lady.
Yeah, Fair Lady.
I was like, oh, that's where my confusion is. I also was like, we talk about this more on Trade Off, how we say I'm very family friendly and all that, and sometimes I say you're more adult, and I joke that I don't mean in a not safe for work way, but it's also in a not safe for work way. But we opened this book and I was like, oh, okay, and I've put in here...
It wasn't subtle, was it?
No, it's... I've put in here, my big note is nudes to noodles.
Wow.
Because, yeah, there's the beginning scene's like her having a moment to herself, let's just put it that way.
Yes.
And then later on, there's sort of like, she meets this person, there's a development there, it's well established that she's a witch and stuff like that. It was very fitting that we read this after,
Sabrina.
with Sabrina, because I was watching
it was pure chance.
But I know, yeah, I totally out of the Blue Connection. I was like, oh, this is really cool, and it managed to do it was a good coupling, because I watched Sabrina and this, and I was like, it was a good pairing, and it is that thing of like Faith's whole thing is like built around a friendship, and in season 1 that was the same thing with Sabrina, so I did like that. And obviously Faith meets this other girl and stuff like that, and then they get back to her house, and yeah, from nudes to
enjoy
noodles.
each other's company.
Yeah, until
it was incredibly explicit. Both violence and sexually. It was incredibly explicit.
I should have known that from
the front cover was so graphic,
because it was the two females and the blood in between. I was like, I should have clocked on.
It's great that the main character is LGBT, and it was a compelling story. I did struggle a little with the modern, what I put in my notes as modern American bants. I struggled with that a little bit.
Yeah.
But a hell of a comic book.
Good one, it.
An absolute hell of a comic book. And the twist at the end, I was like, like genuinely shivers up the spine stuff, and it is difficult to do that to this old cynic.
Oh no, I'm glad. Isn't it mad that how we accidentally picked this up? And I'm probably going to say I accidentally picked it up, and now it's purposely on my pull.
Well, yeah, it's a pull for me as well. Similarly, last week I picked up Assassination, and I thought it was brand new. It wasn't. It was a couple of weeks old, but it was on recommendation in the comic book store, so we put it on Pull or Pass. And again, we just stumbled. 2 weeks in a row, we've stumbled upon two brilliant comic books.
And it just goes to show, doesn't it? Sometimes if you see a book and it says one, you're interested by it, pick it up. You never know.
Give stuff a go.
You never know what you're going to do.
I mean, you could get horribly burnt if you bought Major X.
Sometimes. And I think that's what I like about the show was, because for me previously, when I'd go into a comic book store, I would see a one or whatever, but I wouldn't necessarily pick up an indie one, just because I'd be unsure about how it's going to be. But I'm glad that this show sort of helped me go, any kind of book. I've realised I just like comics, to be honest. It doesn't have to be Marvel, DC, Archie. Sometimes just like a bit of comics, and this is definitely not my typical comic book I would usually pick up. Like I say, family friendly over here. And I think what helped me reading this was the fact that this is a bit of a foreshadowing for a trade-off coming up. I read Sex Criminals for trade-off, and then I was like, okay, this is a thing. And then it was going to be a sort of thing of, now in my head, because I've got reading Sex Criminals, I'm thinking, oh, is she going to have like powers from sex, or is this going to be like a sort of thing, like, that sort of vibe?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm very excited for more of this, genuinely.
It's quite interesting. Now, the last book we're going to talk about is called Orphan Age by Aftershock. And this, I have to say, it's got a really cool concept. When you sent it over when you sent me over, you sent me over like a finger, and he was like, right, I want this book. And then I read the description, I was like, okay, this is cool, I definitely want to sort of... Because the thing is, with this is, because it was like... Aftershock Comics, it's not one of the big, publishers. I was like, okay, I'm definitely going to see if I can try and find this, and it's
nice to get I don't really think Image and Dark Horse are proper indies anymore. They're
they're
too big.
Yeah.
And maybe even Boom is probably,
to a certain degree.
Boom, correct me if I'm wrong, but Boom published Lock and Key, right?
I think so. Yeah.
I'm sorry, the people that published Lock and Key are not an indie anymore. Lock and Key are so... Oh, don't get me started on Lock and Key.
And the thing is with Boom as well, they have all sort of they have Power Rangers and stuff like that. They have a lot of IP stuff. They got WWE as well,
Yeah.
So yeah, this is definitely
this feels like a proper indie.
Yeah. And it was a really cool concept. Like reading it, it was 20 years, all adults have gone, and it's it was just children, and it was you got sort of I say Walking Dead, but you not it was The Walking Dead, but you know how they were all a team together, and they were all sort of survivors and working together. I really enjoyed that, and I really enjoyed the fact that they sort of moved it. It wasn't straight after the disappearance. They hinted at it earlier on, and obviously because I read the description, I sort of knew it was happening. But it was this sort of thing of, hang on, someone's just disappeared, and then they explained it. I liked that. I also liked the fact that. That they didn't just go straight from the disappearance. They went, okay, no, this has been an established world, and I've grown up with not having a parent, or having to, being forced to grow up. Really, sort of a weird. It's almost like Peter Pan, but not.
I do feel a bit like a apocalyptic future where a certain demographic has been wiped out.
Yeah,
is quite unoriginal and quite popular at the moment. Why the Last Man does it, and I can't even remember what it was called.
Another foreshadow for Trader.
Yeah, but there's a couple of telly shows where a whole demographic has been wiped out for whatever reason, and
I'm thinking The 100, maybe
something like that. Yeah. I wasn't sure what we were going to get with this book, and I certainly wasn't expecting evil Christians. Because it's an American comic book, I was surprised by how demonized the church were done in this.
Yeah, because it's we talked about this in the news a couple of weeks ago about the Second Coming by DC, and their depiction of Christ the book got cancelled because of that. So they do have the Christians do have a strong presence, and will bite back against comics. But I guess that helps being more of an indie, sort of you're free to express yourself a bit more. That makes sense.
And it was pretty brutal. There was one of the characters that it was a bit Game of Thrones. One of the characters that you were expecting to be a permanent character forever was just murdered.
Yeah.
And that was nice. Well, not nice, but it was shocking.
Kept
it was
you off the gut.
Yeah.
Off the guard. And I think, like I say, that Walking Dead sort of Game of Thrones sort of things, the way they kill off characters now, it does keep on your toes, and you've always got a sort of constantly changing main character. And I think that sort of effect, it's a great way of modern storytelling now.
Yeah, I think you're right.
You think you've got your main character, but not. And sometimes shows or comics will be named after, especially comics will be named after a certain character, especially your main ones, you read it for the main character. But these sort of indies do reflect on no, the title just is more about the story, and that's that could have many main characters. You may think you've got a main character for now, and then see you in a bit.
See ya.
But yeah, any final thoughts on Orphan Age?
It was great. I was pleasant again.
Titles,
yeah, it's a pull for me.
Definitely a pull for me. Pretty good week for comics, and
except for Major X.
Well, major disappointment.
Yeah, major disappointment.
There we go. Just so you know, we did salute.
Because
you got it, weren't you?
Yeah.
But we want to know your fellow geeky thoughts. What did you pick up this week in your comic book store? Did you pick any of these books up? Were they a pass for you? Were they a pull? Do you want to pull any of these comics after hearing what we say about them? Maybe some, slip through your radar and you're like, hey, I want to check that out.
Do our polls on our Facebook group and our Twitter. We have polls for all 4 comics.
Exactly, definitely check them out. And if there's any comics that you think we missed out that you think, hey, if you guys like this, try this out. If you've got any more like recommendations, like
talk to us.
Just like that after
chat.
If there's more Aftershock comics, like if you like that, they do this or whatever. But yeah, Facebook discussion group, Twitter. They both also have polls on there, but you can also just type in what you checked out this week. It'd be cool to know. And then YouTube comment section below as well. All breezy. But yeah, that's Pull or Pass for this week.
So listen to Geek of the Week. Be sure to tune in next week. Same geek time, same geek channel.
And if you want to follow us on social media, it's at GOTW Radio on Twitter. Search for Geek of the Week Radio Show on Facebook. And to listen again, it's www.mixcloud.com/Geek of the Week Radio Show.